Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Canary Wharf. You're probably wondering why I'm in Canary Wharf today and not in the usual TV studio. That's because we're at a two-day event whereby we'll be talking about citizenship by investment. Now, a lot of you always ask me on the show, hey, look, we don't want to come, we don't want our relatives to come illegally to the UK, and there are no other schemes to go to America or Canada. Can you give us a breakdown of what schemes are available out there? So BLS Media have organised this global immigration investment summit, in which we're going to be talking about schemes with people from various countries, from Portugal to Cyprus to Malta to America to Canada to the UK, Ireland, about different schemes. ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਕਸਦ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਬੋਲੂੰਗਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨੇ ਪਾਰਟਿਸਿਪੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਫੋਟੋ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੌਪ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੈੱਟ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ ਪੈਸੇ ਇਨਵੈਸਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਪੋਰਚੁਗਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਮਾਲਟਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਯੂਕੇ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਆਇਰਲੈਂਡ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਹੋਵੇ so we'll be talking about investment in different schemes. Throughout the day I'll be interviewing different people about the different countries and different schemes. It's a two-day event, so we'll probably get a few TV shows out of it, a few hours worth, but it should be interesting. As you can see, we have all these key speakers here. One day program on day one. On day two, we have all of these people here. We'll be talking. Cyprus is here as well. Bulgaria is here. All the countries you can think of going, but how to get there correctly with your family via investment and whether that investment pays off for you. That's important. A lot of people say, right, we want to know technical details. Will we get our money back? Where's our money going to be invested in? Can I get PR straight away? After how many years will I get it? Can I call my family over? All of that will be answered. So stay tuned and we'll bring you all of this today.
Mr. McGinley, can I ask you to just introduce yourself to our audience, to the attendees of the conference, Immigration and Investment Summit?
Sure. I'm Curtin McGinley. I'm a licensed CIP agent in Antigua and Barbuda. And my company, which is a consulting and advisory company on investment matters, is James and McGinley, and we also associated with the Citizen Investment Program of Antigua and Barbuda.
Fantastic. Can I ask you to give us a brief summary of your program?
Yes, the Antigua and Barbuda Citizenship Program started in 2013. Legislated in 2013, and so we are now moving on just about 5 years now, actually. The company, James and McGinley, which I am a part of, started at the same time with the program as well. And the program has grown leaps and bounds, and you would have heard the Prime Minister say earlier today in his feature address that it is indeed established itself as the leading program, CIP program within the Caribbean. And I fully endorse that. I've seen it grow, and, as well as the others. And so we have a number of applicants now reaching out to Antigua because of the growth of that program in Antigua.
Fantastic. And what role has the citizenship program played after the hurricane specifically?
Sometimes I wonder what we would have done had it not been for the Citizenship Investment Program after that devastating hurricane that decimated our sister island, Barbuda. A number of clients, relationships, investors that are associated with the citizenship program, new citizens themselves reaching out to lend their support and their contribution to the rebuilding efforts of Barbuda. In fact, we have several of our relationships have responded positively. Even as we speak now, we have on the water heading towards Barbuda now, towards Antigua, for Barbuda, a grant of, of 200,000 US dollars worth of building materials, a donation, I should say, of 200,000 US dollars donation headed for Barbuda, just from one of our clients. And we had several of those. Our company, has already donated towards Barbuda and Dominica, for that matter, as part of the Caribbean that was so badly, affected by that hurricane. So yes, through the program itself and the conduits of the program, a number of donations were able to be procured, for the Barbuda hurricane disaster.
Fantastic. And what role has the citizenship program played for your country's economy?
Well, the injection of in the economy from the CIP program is just enormous. The figures are there. I think we are getting in over nearly $1 billion, into the economy from the Citizenship Investment Program. It's a small economy, and the economic turnaround within a small island economy is not as great, and so the CIP program allows for new investment, new monies, economic activity, hotels. We are associated with 2 major hotels through the CIP program. The government has the National Development Fund. Through that National Development Fund, road construction can be met, social programs can be met. Government will use those funds as they see fit as well. I know at one stage in Antigua, the pensioners were benefiting, Social Security were benefiting through the injection that came into the economy, by the CIP. And so when you have a small economy like ours, a small island economy, any injection of capital through programs like the CIP initiative certainly is welcomed. And I dare say that it has really affected us tremendously positively.
Thank you.
If I'm a layperson watching, say, in India, and I'm watching this and saying I want to invest my money in a country in return for citizenship or permanent residency, how would you explain your scheme to me? What's the level of investment you need? How many days would I need to be resident? What would I get in return for my money? And is my money secure?
Well, interesting that you say India as an example.
Yeah.
I just returned from Mumbai, where the BLS had their conference as well. And so it's a question that, comes to me all the time. Presently, Antigua has now a National Development Fund option. It is normally it was 200,000 US dollars for a family of 4. Now it is now 100,000 US dollars for a family of 4.
That would be on a donation basis?
As a donation basis. And add the due diligence to that, and the government processing fees, and throw in a few bobs for my fees, and then you're coming in with about just over 140,000 US dollars for that, for a family of 4. That is now on a limited time offer. Expires on the 1st of November, Independence Day in Antigua.
Right.
And so we have a number of people now, a cluster of people, making that particular, donation towards the National Development Fund on this limited time offer.
In return for that, do you give them permanent residency or do you give them citizenship?
What you get is citizenship of Antigua and Barbuda, with the accompanying passport of Antigua and Barbuda. That passport allows for you to travel to 150 countries and counting, visa-free. So you have visa-free access to that quantum of countries around the world,
including the USA.
The USA, we still have to get a visa to the USA, but this the Antiguan passport allows you visa-free to Schengen countries as well.
And
So-
UK, I believe.
And the UK, of course. Yeah.
And what's the processing times on this? Because you say you've got
They-
a fair rush.
Yes, there is. I mean, the CIP unit in Antigua, which is the government body that manages the program, they have increased their staffing. They are much more experienced than when they started, of course, and so they give in their brochures and all their various promotional material 90 days for the approval of an application. And so, but all things being equal, that is it. But you could possibly, all things being equal, get an approval within 60 days. We have gotten in 45 days.
And finally, is there a residency requirement?
There is a residency requirement in Antigua at the moment. There are efforts by the CIP unit as well as the government to enhance that residency program. You would have heard the Prime Minister speaking about that earlier this morning as well. And so I believe, and certainly as a licensed CIP agent, that I would be advocating for the residency program to be part of the CIP initiative. Because as an agent, more and more we're finding the question of residency coming to us. And in fact, there are some countries that do not necessarily require a second passport citizenship, but because their country themselves do not have dual citizenship. So the residency initiative may very well be a good option, to be tagged on as an ancillary to the CIP program itself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
People from Antigua, you're a law firm in Antigua, and you're going to tell me exactly what the scheme is that Antigua offers and the benefit that it offers, especially say if I'm sitting in India or I'm in China or Russia and I'm looking to move or invest or get citizenship by investment. We've heard talk earlier about the program that Antigua has. Tell me in a bit more detail about the investment that's required and the benefits that we get in return, and most importantly, the residency requirements.
All right, thank you very much for welcoming us. Let me tell you a little bit, firstly, of who we are.
Yeah, definitely.
Our company is Jameson McGinley.
Okay.
It's investment consulting and advisory company in business.
Okay.
Facilitating investments in Antigua and Barbuda, as well as we are agents for the citizenship program of Antigua and Barbuda. I'm Curtly McGinley. I'm the co-founder of the company and principal and CEO. And beside me is our executive manager, Juliet Bailey. And so what we do really is to go out, market, and to countries for people that show interest, or we seek to garner interest in the CIP program.
Okay.
And so that's really who we are. Juliet is the person within our corporation that interacts intimately with those applicants or potential applicants. So for that person sitting in India who wishes to hear more about the citizenship program in Antigua and Barbuda, I generally pass them on to Juliet for them to get the real nitty-gritty of what the program is.
Juliet does the real business.
That is true.
Yes.
At any time as well. It doesn't seem to matter, but I'm really happy to do that, and I love to interact with the clients directly, so I have a feel for exactly what they're looking for, and we're able to provide those solutions.
I think clients, knowing from my experience with our clients as well, they prefer a person who's on call all the time. They can be very demanding.
Yes, that's
especially when they feel, right, we're handing over a large sum of money.
Absolutely.
And especially when it comes to such a big thing as citizenship and moving abroad. So, you know, it's obvious that we need services like this, where people are on call, and due to the time difference,
That's so
you know,
true.
so your 8 p.m. is probably going to be there 8 a.m.
Yes.
And, you know, clients don't really have a sense of time. It's a bit like a doctor. A doctor and a lawyer should always
You
be on
feel
call.
like that, actually.
Absolutely. Interestingly enough, though, I mean, our philosophy on timeness has allowed us to respond effectively. I mean, for instance, there are about 30, just over 30 licensed CIP agents in Antigua. And generally, when someone abroad interacts with these agents, they send an email en masse to all of these agents. And normally we respond right away.
Yes, we have.
And what we have found, by the time we respond, you know, say over the weekend, when somebody else responds, you know, they've practically lost a business, because those clients, those potential applicants, generally embrace the person who responds first, you know, in general, all things being equal. So I say that just to put it in perspective, and to say that our response time is very, very crucial for us and to the clients themselves.
For somebody who hasn't heard of Antigua, tell us where Antigua is and what it's like to move to live to.
Well, Antigua, I would love to tell you, it is the heart of the Caribbean.
Right.
I may be a little biased because, of course, I'm from Antigua. Yes, but it's beautiful, lovely warm climate, sandy white beaches. We have a sister island, Barbuda, is just about 69 miles away by ferry. But the mainland, which we call Antigua, it's rather advanced in the sense that it's a developing country, but we have lots of opportunities. We're looking into a lot of investors to come to establish themselves, establish businesses and so on within our island. And we're resourceful and we're forward thinking. And of course we speak English, but then we're a melting pot of several other different Caribbean nationals that come to Antigua from time to time to either live there, work there and so on. But generally it's beautiful. You know, you think about the palm beaches, the palm trees, you think about lovely waters, relaxing, calm. It's a peace, very serene.
What are the main forms of business there? Where's the income come from?
Tourism is the lifeblood of Antigua. I mean, 75 to 80% of the gross national product, you know, is from tourism itself. Financial services take a small part of that as well. So within the Caribbean and what it conjures out with the beaches and so on, you're thinking of Antigua. I mean, if I think of India, for instance, I would say, well, Viv Richards, you know, as well. I mean, we know, you know,
All Indians know Viv Richards.
we know all Indians know Viv Richards. But that's what Antigua is. It's the metropolis, certainly of the Eastern Caribbean section. It's calypso music and cricket and tourism. These are what conjures up Antigua as well.
So investment-wise, I'm looking at maybe hotels, restaurants.
Absolutely. Hospitality and tourism. It's some amazing hotels there. In fact, our company is facilitating 2 hotels now. One of them is the Marriott, a business hotel at the airport, a Courtyard Marriott, and the other one is another hotel out of the Waldorf Astoria in New York. Now we're doing one in you know, the Waldorf Antigua as well. So I mean, a number of investors are looking, apart from that, have homes and villas where investors invest in, and these are rented out as well.
I was listening earlier and there was mention of 3 schemes, but in particular 2 which really caught my attention. One was the one for 100,000,
That's
which
the National
I think we're looking
Development
for
Fund
like,
contribution, yes.
It's like a donation
Yes,
almost,
that's correct.
to a fund, and the other one was 400,000 And that involves an investment.
Real estate and business.
Right, okay, so kindly just tell us a bit of the difference between the two schemes and the options available there.
Yes.
Okay, so for the donation option, which you mentioned before, which is called the National Development Fund.
Yeah.
For up to a family of 4, it's $100,000,
Right.
right? All in, inclusive of.
Family of 4, is that?
Family of 4.
Could it be a family of 6?
Well, actually, from
So-
5 and above, it's just a little bit more. It's 125,000.
Just I've been busy with the kids.
Most families or most applications are within that amount
Okay.
of persons in terms of the membership. And all in, it's just about 140,000.
Okay.
Yes,
That
where
includes all fees and...
all the fees
Okay.
and all of the relevant government fees and
US dollars we're looking at?
That's US
Okay.
dollars. Yes. The difference between that and the other investment, which is real estate, the minimum investment is $400,000.
Okay.
Yes,
But I can invest that in property?
that's
Yes,
correct.
yes.
So I could buy, what, 2 villas, 3 villas?
Yes.
Well, depending on how expensive they are.
Exactly.
The government has made it even more attractive in the past 2 months or so, in that whereas the threshold for the real estate option is $400,
Yeah.
$400,000
$1,000,
US dollars at the minimum, you are now able to fractionize that. Where a family can now come in, 2 people can come in now and purchase that same property for 200,000 and
so as a
200,000
team?
Yes,
as a
that's
team.
correct.
So
As a
3
team.
families can do it?
Yes,
Two
yes, 2
families.
families.
So
can-
then it makes it
People-
200,000.
Yes, yes, so
Oh, wow.
you can have, you can
That's
have, you can
that's
have
a bit
that.
similar to the
Yes,
to the UK
yes.
sort of scheme. Right,
Yeah.
so with the donation, I'm assuming we don't get that back.
No.
So it's a donation, right?
Yes. No, no.
So that's very clear, we need to make
Yes.
that clear to the viewers.
Yes.
With the investment,
Yes. There's an option.
the
for
money is
people.
always theirs, I suppose.
Yes.
The thing that they bought,
Yes.
the
Yes.
property that they purchased is always there,
Yeah,
right?
but it's freehold property,
Yes.
and you, under the CIP program, you have the option of, after 5 years, to resell that property
Yes.
Okay.
to even a CIP applicant.
Okay.
And then you are
I could
able...
sell it to my cousins who want to come.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then they can
But it
sit
has
on
to
your
5 years.
Right, and it, you know, it's, but you have to hold it for
You have to hold the investment for 5 years.
for 5 years.
Okay.
As well.
So let's just say I've given my donation or I've given my investment. Now what do I get in return? So as a citizen from India or China or Russia, what do I get?
Citizenship of Antigua and Barbuda.
Straight away?
Straight away. And you have an accompanying Antigua and Barbuda passport.
Wow.
Which is considered the #1 passport in the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean, allows you to go to 150 countries visa-free.
Which, give me some example, what country's going to go visa-free?
You can go to any part within the Schengen nation in terms of Europe,
France, Spain,
France,
Yes.
Spain, the UK,
Italy.
Italy,
Yes.
UK.
Albania, right, exactly. There's so many options
Wow.
and so many possibilities, so this is excellent.
And counting each month, they're moving towards bringing on more.
Actively.
Actively
The
bringing on.
government
It's only gonna grow, yeah.
Yes,
It's not
only
gonna-
gonna grow.
it's
Actively
gonna-
tries
it's gonna
to
grow.
acquire new jurisdictions where we are able to have just visa-free access.
Okay, so a lot of schemes which I'm hearing about today, like say a lot of the European ones and the UK ones and the American ones and the Canadian ones, they require you to physically be in the country for say 5 years. I mean, the UK one, you have to be in the UK for 5 years.
Absolutely.
If I'm a businessman, I don't want to stay here for 5 years, but I might want my family to get citizenship abroad. What's the residence requirement in Antigua in order for me to get my citizenship? Is there a residence requirement?
There is a residency requirement, but this can be fulfilled within a 5-year period.
Right.
So it's only within, but you will be approved. You would have gotten your citizenship
So there's-
certificate. You'd have gotten your passport.
So there is no residency requirement in order to get my
No,
citizenship
you-
or permanent residence?
No.
So
That's where the scheme differs.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. So that person in India, or that person in India, Pakistan,
Yeah.
and the UAE, wherever they are, all they need to do is to contact us in Antigua as a licensed CIP agent, and to say, I'm interested in the citizenship program of Antigua and Barbuda. We will then send them out the information as to the various options, advise them and guide them on which one may be most suitable depending on their needs, and they can stay where they are without coming to Antigua.
Right.
We will even send the passport to them when it's approved and when it's to them, and they only have to come to Antigua when they're within 5 years.
Wow.
And they will do their oath of allegiance at that time.
Okay.
There is a residency requirement
Of 5
of 5 days within 5 years. So we have someone, as we speak to you now, we have a gentleman arriving tomorrow in Antigua to do his oath of allegiance, and he's going to spend 5 days. And he's going to also, he's coming to Antigua with his passport, and he's going to check in at the airport
As an Antiguan
Antiguan citizen.
In that queue.
And
That's the first time he's coming.
yeah, and that's the first time he's going, and he's going to go in the queue that says citizens of Antigua and Barbuda.
I've never heard of a scheme like this.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's really what it is, and you know. So and then when he leaves, we had a gentleman from India actually, who was there last week with his family, his wife, who is also a citizen, but 2 of his sons who are not citizens, but they came to revisit Antigua, and the parents brought them to Antigua to show them their home away from home as well, and they came back to visit.
Wow.
So it's a beautiful country, and once you become a citizen, it's not unlikely that you're going to visit again, you know, after.
And what are the facilities like? So all the education is in English, I take it?
That's correct.
So you have schools, private schools,
Colleges as well.
Colleges.
Partial universities and so on. Yes.
and I'm assuming the shopping facilities must be good because you get a lot of visitors and tourists, right?
Yes, yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, we have close to 700 tourists a year visiting, you know, just on the cruise alone as well. So Antigua boasts close to 1 million tourists per year between cruise and air. So the shopping facilities are there. It's 3.5 hours, 2.5 hours to Miami. Just about 4 hours to the United States. A lot of people travel back and forth as well. There are major international flights, Virgin Atlantic, British Airways from the UK. It's really a
And I'm assuming, like everything else, if you have PR or you're a citizen of Antigua, then getting a visa for the US and Canada is not going to be a problem, right?
Unlikely. The relationship that Antigua and Barbuda has with these countries have grown tremendously over the years, and so it's not generally a problem to acquire a visa as an Antigua and Barbuda citizen to these
And to the
countries.
UK, I can come visa free anyway.
You could just come with your passport, just
Literally get a
present
ticket
your,
and-
just a
Right.
ticket, present your passport and travel.
Yes.
Do you know what? It's been brilliant talking to you, and it's been great that you've been able to explain the scheme to our viewers out there. And we definitely look forward to working with yourselves in the future. And
Thank you very
we'll
much.
have to come over there and check Antigua out and
You have
film
to.
it, and then
You have to.
show your people that
Definitely
this is what
have to.
Antigua is. And if you don't know what Antigua is about, then definitely get on YouTube and check it out at what Antigua's about. And if it's for you, then by all means, contact us.
Yes.
Welcome back to the summit, and we've managed to find someone from the favourite country which all Indians want to go to, and that is America. So, Nadeem Khanji, Swagat hai. I understand under this EB5 project, you have to invest in a business or a project, and you yourselves have a project. Tell us a bit about your project, New Ride Transportation.
Right. So we started the project 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it was in the area of transportation. EB5, which is an immigration-based investment. Normally, majority of the projects were in the real estate area.
Yeah.
So we were very unique in introducing a project in transportation.
Right.
And we successfully completed our first phase. And we were able to get about 98 investors in that. The project is running.
Okay.
It's a touch and feel project. Unlike a lot of other real estate projects where you only get to see a blueprint
Okay.
and you basically invest on a blueprint.
Okay.
So we have a fleet of almost 500 plus cars.
Okay.
We have created almost 1,000 plus jobs in last 4 years. And we have different segments within the project. And one of the most interesting and most viable sector is medical transportation. So medical transportation is also paid by government of USA under two programs, which are Medicaid and Medicare. And it's a very secured area of providing services.
Are we talking about ambulances or?
It's a non-ambulatory.
Right.
So it is called NEMT,
Okay.
non-emergency medical transportation,
Right.
which is provided to recipients of Medicaid and Medicare.
We're talking about elderly people, transporting them from places to.
Absolutely.
So I think the equivalent in the UK would be like transporting someone from a care home to their home, or
Yes.
taking them out to social places.
So the clinical appointments, their appointments to the hospitals, some of them have very regular sort of visits, for example, dialysis centers. So this is all covered under their insurance.
Okay.
So we provide services on a daily basis
Right.
to people who are basically living in assisted living, nursing homes, adult daycare centers. So this is basically what our next project is all about.
What level of investment do you require?
So under the program EB5, which had been there in US, and it's a program which is basically approved by United States government, and it's approved. The whole process is basically through USCIS.
Right.
The minimum investment in EB5 is $500,000 US.
Okay.
And you have to invest that in a project which is approved again
By the government.
by the government.
Which is yours.
And it's a very authentic program. So it's not a private sector where you have to go and invest. So under this program, against your investment, the project has to create 10 jobs.
Right.
So in our project, job creation is very attractive.
Right.
Because every car requires a minimum one driver.
Okay.
But it's a 24-hour industry.
Okay.
So we take a minimum number of 2 drivers per car.
Okay.
So if we have a fleet of 500 cars, that means technically we have already created 1,000 jobs. Plus, since it's a 24-hour industry, you require a lot of support.
What sort of return do we get on an investment?
So in EB5, the regular return which is offered by real estate projects varies from 1% to 3%. We basically offer 1.5% right now to our investors, up to 3.5%, depending in which project they want to invest in.
Usually Asian लोगों को ये डर होता है कि कोई पैसे लेके भाग ना जाए. Is their money secure? And our parents always tell us, नहीं, property law, nothing safer than bricks and mortar.
Right.
What are your comments?
देखिए, इसमें पैसा लेकर भागने वाला तो कोई सिलसिला है नहीं.
Right.
US गवर्नमेंट का प्रोग्राम है.
All right.
SEC की ओवरसाइट है.
Right.
Securities and Exchange,
Okay.
which is one of the strongest regulatory body in USA.
Okay.
USCIS approve करती है. Program is all over the website, जिसकी कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है हमें कन्विंस करने की कि ये प्रोग्राम ऑथेंटिक है या कोई स्कीम है या किसी ने शुरू की है. और ये प्रोग्राम बहुत पहले से चल रहा है.
Okay.
इसकी मिनिमम इन्वेस्टमेंट पहले $1 million होती थी.
Okay.
अंडर रीजनल सेंटर प्रोग्राम इसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट लेवल नीचे आया, जो पूल कहलाता है.
ठीक है.
कि अब आपको इंडिविजुअली इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना पड़ता किसी अपना कोई बिजनेस खरीदने के लिए या अपना बिजनेस बनाने के लिए और फिर उसमें 10 जॉब्स क्रिएट करने के लिए. सो अंडर द रीजनल सेंटर प्रोग्राम इसमें एडवांटेज इन्वेस्टर्स को ये मिलती है कि वो किसी पूल में इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं और वो पूल क्रिएट करता है जॉब्स. राइट. तो उसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट लेवल 500,000 हो जाती है. और इस वजह से ये प्रोग्राम पिछले 8-10 साल में बहुत ज़्यादा पॉपुलर हुआ है और तकरीबन ओवर $10 billion की इन्वेस्टमेंट हुई है इन रीसेंट ईयर्स.
आपका अप्रूवल रेट क्या है? क्योंकि प्रोजेक्ट्स तो मैंने देखा यहाँ पे बहुत लोग लेके आए हैं
जी।
एंड देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स. सो जो प्रोजेक्ट चुन रहा है उसको क्या मशवरा दे सकते हैं कि आपके कौन सा प्रोजेक्ट चुने, प्रोजेक्ट में कौन कौन सी चीजें देखनी चाहिए?
देखिए, हमारे प्रोजेक्ट का जहाँ तक सिलसिला है, हमने अब तक इस प्रोजेक्ट के लिए तकरीबन $45 मिलियन के करीब रेज किया है, विच इज अबाउट 90 इन्वेस्टर्स. उसमें से 42 इन्वेस्टर्स को ऑलरेडी अप्रूवल्स हैं. इसके अंदर 2 अप्रूवल्स होते हैं. एक जब आप एप्लीकेशन देते हैं तो टेम्पररी ग्रीन कार्ड मिलता है आपको, विच इज I-526. तो हमारे प्रोजेक्ट में तकरीबन 42 I-526 अप्रूव्ड हैं, राइट. और दूसरे प्रोजेक्ट्स के अंदर भी जो नॉर्मल टाइम है वो तकरीबन 18 महीने से 22-24 महीने तक का है. तो दैट्स द रेगुलर टाइम पीरियड जिसपे कोई प्रोजेक्ट अगर ये कहे कि वो जल्दी कर सकते हैं तो मेरे ख्याल से सच नहीं. राइट. दिस इज द रेगुलर टाइमिंग, दिस इज द एवरेज टाइम वी शुड टेक.
टाइम क्यों लगता है?
टाइम की प्रोसेसिंग इसके अंदर USCIS, क्योंकि इतनी ज़्यादा एप्लीकेशंस हैं, तो जिस तरीके से रेगुलर आपकी वीज़े की एप्लीकेशंस होती हैं उसी तरह से ट्रीट होती हैं. एक प्रोसेस है. दिस इज नॉट अ स्कीम where you can just go and invest and get something. You have to be a part of a process to get what you want to get. तो 3 मेजर चीज़ें हैं हर इन्वेस्टर के लिए देखने के लिए. एक तो ये कि जी मेरा पैसा सेफ है, दूसरा ये मेरा ग्रीन कार्ड मुझे मिलेगा, और तीसरा ये मेरे पैसे की गारंटी है वापस मिलने की. तो इस प्रोग्राम में गारंटी तो नहीं है, तो ड्यू डिलिजेंस करना बहुत जरूरी है. क्योंकि गारंटी आप दे नहीं सकते अकॉर्डिंग टू द रूल्स ऑफ द प्रोग्राम. तो इसके अंदर ड्यू डिलिजेंस के लिए हम तो हमेशा इनकरेज करते हैं अपने इन्वेस्टर्स को कि जी आप आए, विजिट करें प्रोजेक्ट को, टच एंड फील, उसके बाद अपना डिसीजन लें. और हमारे प्रोजेक्ट में आई वुड से ओवरवेलमिंग percentage of investors who have invested, which is more than 95, they visited the project before they took the decision of investing.
And is there a minimum number of years I have to invest in your project?
5 years is the average time period. 5 साल सब लोग कहते हैं. और तकरीबन हमारे प्रोजेक्ट क्योंकि इट्स रेवेन्यू बेस्ड, हमें कोई चीज बनाकर बेचनी नहीं है पैसा वापस करने के लिए.
आप तो सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड
हम सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करते हैं, तो हमारा तो ऑन गोइंग प्रोजेक्ट है. तो हमारे में ज्यादा एबिलिटी है पैसे जल्दी वापस करने की. और पैसा रखना हमारे लिए काउंटर प्रोडक्टिव है, क्योंकि पैसा रख के हमको टैक्सेस पे करने, उससे बेहतर है हम आपका पैसा वापस कर दें.
एंड ऑल्सो आपका कोई प्रॉपर्टी मार्केट से कोई ताल्लुकात नहीं,
प्रॉपर्टी मार्केट से इट्स रिसेशन प्रूफ बिजनेस. लोगों ने बीमार होना है, लोगों ने अपॉइंटमेंट पे जाना है, लोगों ने रोजाना ट्रांसपोर्टेशन लेनी है. तो आई थिंक दिस इज अ वेरी यूनिक डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट विद इन EB5 इंडस्ट्री.
So anybody who's sitting in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh इस वक्त देख रहे होंगे, तो आप उनको कौन सा मैसेज दो? वो सोच रहे हैं कि हमें US सेटल होना है, क्या मैसेज देंगे?
इस सबसे पहले तो प्रोजेक्ट चूज करें. ये एक तरीका है US माइग्रेट करने का, और सबसे
सही तरीका है,
गवर्नमेंट से अप्रूव्ड है और आजमाया हुआ तरीका है. इसमें कोई नई चीज नहीं है. हजारों लोग अमेरिका माइग्रेट हुए हैं अंडर दिस प्रोग्राम, अभी भी हो रहे हैं. तो मेरा मशवरा यही होगा कि जी सेफ प्रोग्राम में इन्वेस्ट करके आए, एक लीगल तरीके से आए, और ये प्रोग्राम जो आजमाया हुआ है, जो US गवर्नमेंट से अप्रूव्ड है, जिसकी प्रेजेंस है पूरी वेब के ऊपर है, आप अपनी ड्यू डिलिजेंस करें. उसके बाद सेकंड स्टेज ये है कि अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट चूज करें, और वो प्रोजेक्ट चूज करें जिसकी कोई हिस्ट्री हो, जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग हो, और अच्छे लॉयर से अपना मशवरा करें.
जी बहुत बहुत मेहरबानी.
थैंक यू जी.
और उससे ज्यादा मेहरबानी कि आपने अपनी जुबान में इंटरव्यू दिया.
थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the summit, and we've managed to find someone from the favorite country which all Indians want to go to, and that is America. So Nadeem Khan ji, स्वागत है. I understand under this EB5 project, you have to invest in a business or a project, and you yourselves have a project. Tell us a bit about your project, New Ride Transportation.
Right. So we started the project 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it was in the area of transportation. EB5 which is an immigration-based investment. Normally, majority of the projects were in the real estate area.
Yeah.
So we were very unique in introducing a project in transportation.
Right.
And we successfully completed our first phase, and we were able to get about 98 investors in that. The project is running.
Okay.
It's a touch and feel project. Unlike a lot of other real estate projects where you only get to see a blueprint.
Okay.
And you basically invest on a blueprint.
Okay.
So we have a fleet of almost 500 plus cars.
Okay.
We have created almost 1,000 plus jobs in last 4 years. And we have different segments within the project. And one of the most interesting and most viable sector is medical transportation. So medical transportation is also paid by government of USA under two programs, which are Medicaid and Medicare. And it's a very secured area of providing services.
Are we talking about ambulances or?
It's non-ambulatory.
Right.
So it is called NEMT,
Okay.
non-emergency medical transportation,
Right.
Which is provided to recipients of Medicaid and Medicare.
We're talking about elderly people transporting them from places to.
Absolutely.
So I think the equivalent in the UK would be like transporting someone from a care home to their home, or
Yes.
taking them out to social places.
So the clinical appointments, their appointments to the hospitals, some of them have very regular sort of visits, for example, dialysis centers. So this is all covered under the insurance.
Okay.
So we provide services on a daily basis.
Right.
To people who are basically living in assisted living, nursing homes, adult daycare centers. So this is basically what our next project is all about.
What level of investment do you require?
So under the program EB5, which had been there in US, and it's a program which is basically approved by United States government. And it's approved, the whole process is basically through USCIS.
Right.
The minimum investment in EB5 is $500,000 US.
Okay.
And you have to invest that in a project which is approved again
By the government.
by the government.
Which is yours.
And it's a very authentic program. So it's not a private sector where you have to go and invest. So under this program, against your investment, the project has to create 10 jobs.
Right.
So in our project, job creation is very attractive.
Right.
Because every car requires a minimum one driver.
Okay.
But it's a 24-hour industry.
Okay.
So we take a minimum number of 2 drivers per car.
Okay.
So if we have a fleet of 500 cars, that means technically we have already created 1,000 jobs. Plus, since it's a 24-hour industry, you require a lot of support.
What sort of return do we get on an investment?
So in EB5, the regular return which is offered by real estate projects varies from 1% to 3%. We basically offer 1.5% right now to our investors, up to 3.5%, depending in which project they want to invest in.
Usually Asian लोगों को ये डर होता है कि कोई पैसे लेके भाग ना जाए. Is their money secure? And our parents always tell us, नहीं, property लो, nothing safer than bricks and mortar.
Right.
What are your comments?
देखिए, इसमें पैसा लेकर भागने वाला तो कोई सिलसिला है नहीं.
Right.
US गवर्नमेंट का प्रोग्राम है.
All right.
SEC की ओवरसाइट है.
Right.
Securities and Exchange,
Okay.
which is one of the strongest regulatory body in USA.
Okay.
USCIS approve करती है. Program is all over the website. जिसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं है हमें कन्विंस करने की कि ये प्रोग्राम ऑथेंटिक है या कोई स्कीम है या किसी ने शुरू की है. और ये प्रोग्राम बहुत पहले से चल रहा है.
Okay.
इसकी मिनिमम इन्वेस्टमेंट पहले $1 million होती थी.
Okay.
अंडर रीजनल सेंटर प्रोग्राम इसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट लेवल नीचे आया, जो पूल कहलाता है.
ठीक है.
कि अब आपको इंडिविजुअली इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना पड़ता किसी अपना कोई बिजनेस खरीदने के लिए. या अपना बिजनेस बनाने के लिए और फिर उसमें 10 जॉब्स क्रिएट करने के लिए. सो अंडर द रीजनल सेंटर प्रोग्राम इसमें एडवांटेज इन्वेस्टर्स को ये मिलती है कि वो किसी पूल में इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं और वो पूल क्रिएट करता है जॉब्स, राइट. तो उसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट लेवल 500,000 हो जाती है. और इस वजह से ये प्रोग्राम पिछले 8-10 साल में बहुत ज्यादा पॉपुलर हुआ है और तकरीबन ओवर $10 billion की इन्वेस्टमेंट हुई है इन रिसेंट ईयर्स.
आपका अप्रूवल रेट क्या है? क्योंकि प्रोजेक्ट्स तो मैंने देखा यहाँ पे बहुत लोग लेके आए हैं
जी.
एंड देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स. सो जो प्रोजेक्ट चुन रहा है उसको क्या मशवरा दे सकते हैं कि आपके कौन सा प्रोजेक्ट चुने, प्रोजेक्ट में कौन कौन सी चीजें देखनी चाहिए?
देखिए, हमारे प्रोजेक्ट का जहां तक सिलसिला है, हमने अब तक इस प्रोजेक्ट के लिए तकरीबन $45 million के करीब रेज किया है, विच इज अबाउट 90 इन्वेस्टर्स. उसमें से 42 इन्वेस्टर्स को ऑलरेडी अप्रूवल्स हैं. इसके अंदर 2 अप्रूवल्स होते हैं. एक जब आप एप्लीकेशन देते हैं तो टेम्पररी ग्रीन कार्ड मिलता है आपको, विच इज I-526. तो हमारे प्रोजेक्ट में तकरीबन 42 I-526 अप्रूव्ड हैं, राइट. और दूसरे प्रोजेक्ट्स के अंदर भी जो नॉर्मल टाइम है वो तकरीबन 18 महीने से 22-24 महीने तक का है. तो दैट्स द रेगुलर टाइम पीरियड जिसपे कोई प्रोजेक्ट अगर ये कहे कि वो जल्दी कर सकते हैं तो मेरे ख्याल से सच नहीं. राइट. दिस इज द रेगुलर टाइमिंग, दिस इज द एवरेज टाइम वी शुड टेक.
टाइम क्यों लगता है?
टाइम जी, प्रोसेसिंग इसके अंदर USCIS क्योंकि इतनी ज्यादा एप्लीकेशंस हैं, तो जिस तरीके से रेगुलर आपकी वीजे की एप्लीकेशंस होती हैं उसी तरह से ट्रीट होती हैं. एक प्रोसेस है. दिस इज नॉट अ स्कीम where you can just go and invest and get something. You have to be a part of a process to get what you want to get. तो 3 मेजर चीजें हैं हर इन्वेस्टर के लिए देखने के लिए. एक तो ये कि जी मेरा पैसा सेफ है, दूसरा ये मेरा ग्रीन कार्ड मुझे मिलेगा, और तीसरा ये मेरे पैसे की गारंटी है वापस मिलने की. तो इस प्रोग्राम में गारंटी तो नहीं है, तो ड्यू डिलिजेंस करना बहुत जरूरी है. क्योंकि गारंटी आप दे नहीं सकते अकॉर्डिंग टू द रूल्स ऑफ द प्रोग्राम. तो इसके अंदर ड्यू डिलिजेंस के लिए हम तो हमेशा इनकरेज करते हैं अपने इन्वेस्टर्स को कि जी आप आए, विजिट करें प्रोजेक्ट को, टच एंड फील, उसके बाद अपना डिसीजन लें. और हमारे प्रोजेक्ट में आई वुड से ओवरवेलमिंग परसेंटेज ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स हु हैव इन्वेस्टेड, व्हिच इज मोर देन 95, they visited the project before they took the decision of investing.
And is there a minimum number of years I have to invest in your project?
5 years is the average time period. 5 साल सब लोग कहते हैं. और तकरीबन हमारे प्रोजेक्ट क्योंकि इट्स रेवेन्यू बेस्ड, हमें कोई चीज बनाकर बेचनी नहीं है पैसा वापस करने के लिए.
आप तो सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड
हम सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करते हैं, तो हमारा तो ऑन गोइंग प्रोजेक्ट है. तो हमारे में ज्यादा एबिलिटी है पैसे जल्दी वापस करने की. और पैसा रखना हमारे लिए काउंटर प्रोडक्टिव है, क्योंकि पैसा रख के हमको टैक्सेस पे करने, उससे बेहतर है हम आपका पैसा वापस कर दें.
एंड आल्सो आपका कोई प्रॉपर्टी मार्केट से कोई ताल्लुकात नहीं,
सो इट्स रिसेशन प्रूफ बिजनेस. लोगों ने बीमार होना है, लोगों ने अपॉइंटमेंट पे जाना है, लोगों ने रोजाना ट्रांसपोर्टेशन लेनी है. तो आई थिंक दिस इज अ वेरी यूनिक डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट विद इन EB5 इंडस्ट्री.
So anybody who's sitting in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh इस वक्त देख रहे होंगे, तो आप उनको कौन सा मैसेज दो? वो सोच रहे हैं कि हमें US सेटल होना है, क्या मैसेज देंगे?
इस सबसे पहले तो प्रोजेक्ट चूज करें. ये एक तरीका है US माइग्रेट करने का, और सबसे
सही तरीका है, गवर्नमेंट से अप्रूव्ड है और आजमाया हुआ तरीका है. इसमें कोई नई चीज नहीं है. हजारों लोग अमेरिका माइग्रेट हुए हैं अंडर दिस प्रोग्राम, अभी भी हो रहे हैं. तो मेरा मशवरा यही होगा कि जी सेफ प्रोग्राम में इन्वेस्ट करके आए, एक लीगल तरीके से आए, और ये प्रोग्राम जो आजमाया हुआ है, जो US गवर्नमेंट से अप्रूव्ड है, जिसकी प्रेजेंस है पूरी वेब के ऊपर है, आप अपनी ड्यू डिलिजेंस करें. उसके बाद सेकंड स्टेज ये है कि अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट चूज करें, और वो प्रोजेक्ट चूज करें जिसकी कोई हिस्ट्री हो, जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग हो, और अच्छे लॉयर से अपना मशवरा करें. जी बहुत बहुत मेहरबानी.
थैंक यू जी.
उससे ज्यादा मेहरबानी कि आपने अपनी जुबान में इंटरव्यू दिया.
थैंक यू वेरी मच.
थैंक यू.
थैंक यू.
Welcome, Bill Gresser. Would you like to? We'd like to introduce you to talk a little bit about yourself to our global investment immigration guests.
Sure. Well, thank you. First off, thank you very much for having me. I mean, this is a wonderful opportunity, and we've had a great conference so far. So I'm very, very happy to be on the program, and thank you for taking the time. So my name is Bill Gresser. I'm the president and a founder of EB5 New York State. And EB5 New York State is what's known as a regional center under the EB5 program. And we help people, we help families come to the U.S., receive a U.S. green card through making an investment in the U.S. We've been doing it now for over 10 years. I'm also the vice president of the National Trade Association for EB5 regional centers. I'm the vice president of a group called Invest in USA, which is the largest trade association of regional centers in the U.S. So that's a little background on me.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
So we know there is up to 15 years backlog from China, and India is soon to hit retrogression. Are you guys a victim of your own success?
I would say that the industry is a victim of its own success, undoubtedly. But I do think that there is a bit of a distinction. So with our company, when we started about 10 years ago, we first had investors from Korea, primarily. And then for a few years, primarily from China. But we were concerned by the concentration of investors from China. So we made a conscious decision to reduce the number from China. We're about 25% or 30% of our investors are from India. About 25 to 30% of our investors already live in the United States. And the rest of our investors are from the balance of the world. I believe over 90 countries right now. So retrogression in China is very, very real. It's very true. The estimates are now about 15-year wait, and you're right, it's a victim of success. As to India, it is not retrogressed currently. It may retrogress. If India retrogresses, it will mean a slight backlog for a short period of time, and then it will become current, and then a slight backlog for a period of time, and then it will become current. And this is speculation, no one knows for certain. So it'll probably be a few years before it permanently retrogresses. So it'll be interesting to see, but at the current time, for Indian investors, it's known as, the visa status is current. So Indian investors should invest now in order to position themselves as well as possible if the Indian nationality retrogresses in the future.
Indians love migrating abroad, especially to places like the USA, Canada, and the UK. They're their favourites.
Right.
I would say I'm an Indian investor.
Yes.
So I'm going to say, Bill, I want to take my family to the USA.
Absolutely.
What do I need and what can you do for me?
Sure, sure. No, that's an excellent question, and I'll tell you, from the Indian perspective, we have a tremendous amount of experience. So there are several types of Indian investors from India. There are investors in India who have made cash, and they want primarily their children to go to school in the US.
Yeah.
That is 90% of Indian investors, their objective is for their family, and especially their children to go to university in the US. And after being in university, they want their children to be able to stay in the US and work. In the US, it's very hard to get in. And India is, in particular, a number of categories are difficult. But for EB5, again, it's still current. So it's a wonderful opportunity. So you have individuals who've made money in India. The second group of Indian investors are children already in US schools. So the mother and father have sent their child, and he or she is, let's say, first year of university. In order for that child to stay in the US and work after they graduate, they need to have a visa status. They need to have a way, and EB5 is a way. So the child, maybe first or second year of college, the child applies as an investor, and then they can stay afterwards once they have their green card to the US. And the third type of Indian investor is the person who's already there, and he or she is a professional. And we have, again, probably 25 to 30% of our investors actually live in the US. They have an H-1B, they're a physician, they work on Wall Street, they're in the high-tech sector, and they need to have certainty that they can stay in the US. It is becoming more common that we have investors who are Indian that already live in the US under a different visa category, and we help all of them. We have a significant amount of experience with Indian investors for many years. And how do we help them? We understand why they want to come to the US or stay. We understand the Indian currency laws and the need and the ability to transfer funds out of India, which can be extremely complicated in some instances. And then we help them by providing them with projects that have a great deal of certainty of meeting the EB-5 requirements, creating the jobs so they get a visa, and then having those investors eventually repaid. We're one of the few regional centers who have investors that have unconditional green cards for the whole family and have been repaid their entire investment in full. So that is what we do for investors from all over, but in particular, we have a great deal of experience with investors from India.
Essentially, if they do get their money back,
Right.
then we're getting the visas for free.
Right. You always, any investor must make an investment. Under US law, it must be an at-risk investment. However, we structure them to have as great a likelihood as we can that they will eventually be repaid. So I agree with you. If you look at it in that long term, it is essentially a free investment, maybe the cost of the time value of money, but essentially a free investment, yeah, and they get it back. That's objective.
And what sets your project apart from the 800 other projects which we've been talking to?
Right.
And the real estate and, you know, so what sets you apart? I mean, how can you be so sure of saying, Harjap, you know, we're not going to lose, I'm not going to lose your money, and you're going to get your green card? Because everyone talks in ifs, buts, and maybes.
Yeah.
There's there's a lack of certainty. But how can Bill say, right, you know what, this is definitely going to happen?
Actually, it's interesting you say that, Harjap, because no one can say it will definitely happen. So I'm an attorney. I don't practice law in this area. I'm also registered with certain securities laws in the United States, and I know you cannot say with certainty it is against U.S. law for me to make a guarantee either of the repayment or the eventual granting of the visa. If I do that, it would violate the provisions of the EB-5 program. But I can say to you, we absolutely believe you will receive a green card and be repaid, and that's as much as we really can say. Now, why do I say that? Well, again, we've been doing this for over 10 years. We have investors that have gone all the way through the process from start to finish, from applying and having a great deal of angst, consternation, concern, they're nervous on the front end, to eventually in the back end having a green card for the whole family and then being repaid. We have had projects in many sectors. We have construction projects, we have hospital projects. We recently finished raising capital for a children's hospital in upstate New York. We have real estate developments in New York City. So we aren't a developer doing a particular project. What we do is we look for projects that we believe will meet the requirements of the EB-5 program. We'll create the jobs so the investors get visas and then we'll be repaid. They're not investing in our project. They're using our expertise and experience to help identify projects which should meet their needs. Today, we may have a hotel project. Tomorrow, it may be a different one, but it has the same criteria. Qualified, experienced developers with very good projects. So why would they invest with us? 10 years of experience and the success helping investors, regardless of the type of project.
Bill, there are some exciting projects on offer through the EB-5 program. How should an investor proceed to ascertain which projects to invest in?
That's a great question. EB-5, we have three objectives. The first objective is job creation so that you get a green card. The second is repayment. We want to work as hard as possible for the repayment of your entire investment. And then the third is a return on your investment. As an investor, the first thing you should look at is the project, and that is people. Who are the people doing this project, both from the regional center, but the development side? At the end of the day, you're making an investment into a business. If that business fails, you may not get the immigration benefit you want. So look closely at that business. Does it make sense? After you feel that there's a degree of comfort, at the same time, you should have a very good U.S. attorney experienced in EB-5. And that is an individual that he or she can look at this and say, you know what, that business investment you like also meets the requirements of the EB-5 program. So it's a business that meets the program immigration requirements. That's how I would start to look at it. Look at the business first. Then there's nuances. Is it, how certain are you that the jobs will be created? Well, with construction projects, we have a great deal of certainty. So there are lots and lots of nuances, but at the end of the day, is the thing you're investing in, does it make sense? Is it a good project? How low is the risk that this project will go forward and create jobs? That's how I would start. Always look at the project, always look at the people.
Okay. Can you explain the role of a broker-dealer in EB5 transactions?
Sure. So when you make an EB5 investment, you're purchasing a security under U.S. securities laws. And it's really important. Many people in the past have said, well, this isn't really a security for certain reasons. It is. And as a result, it has to comply with U.S. securities laws. Broker-dealers are becoming much more common in the industry. So we only work with broker-dealers. And a broker-dealer is a person licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission or FINRA or another organization like that. Their role is to do background diligence on me, do background to check and make sure that we have no financial or criminal or other issues. Their role is to do a background check on the development. Who is this developer? Is this a good project? Does it make sense financially? And then the third thing they do is they vet the individual investors, which is actually really important. One investor wants to feel certain to a degree that any other investor has also been vetted, that they're a good person, that their funds come from a legitimate source. So broker-dealers are much more important in today's environment than ever in the past. And as U.S. laws change, they will become even more important. And as an example, for example, we have our projects audited. So all projects going forward have an independent audit, also required by broker-dealers. So it's a level of oversight, it's a level of control, and it provides a level of certainty and security for the investor. Most investors never meet me, but knowing that an independent third party licensed by a U.S. government or a government agency has reviewed the project and has a degree of oversight and control is extremely important. And we only use broker-dealers, so.
Bill, what are the processing times? We hear a lot of stories about processing times.
Right.
And people, when they give you money, they want something now. Yeah. You can't blame the world for that. The Americans created that company when they made groceries. So, if we pay you $500 million,
Right.
how quick can you turn it around for us? Let's say if we're from India or let's say China. They've got huge waiting lists,
They do.
right? So, are we going to have to wait 15 years for our visa, or are we going to have to wait 10 years for our visa?
Yeah.
And what should be the processing time? And are you lobbying the government? And is the government doing anything about it? Surely, when there's a backlog,
That's
is the
a
government
great-
trying to speed stuff up?
That's a great
People like you
point.
should be saying, "Well, hold on,
We
we're
are.
doing our business."
No, you're very true. No, that's excellent. So when we started in this business, I used to be able to say to people, in 1 year,
Yeah.
you and your family will be in the United States. Well, now it's more like 2 years. But truthfully, no one can give a guarantee because at the end of the day, it's a U.S. government agency that has to approve you. You can't force them to do anything earlier, right? So you can't say with that degree of certainty that we know. Now, your other point, which is, shouldn't we be lobbying the government? And we do, on a very regular basis, not only in Congress, but actually more importantly is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the agency that oversees what we do. And repeatedly for years we've said, please, you have to make the waiting time shorter. So they've recently come out and said it is part of their objective is to shorten waiting time. So hopefully they will shorten. Whether they will in reality, I don't know. There's actually a second point though. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services approves your application. It's actually the U.S. State Department that grants the visa. So the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services may approve it quickly, even as a Chinese person. But as a Chinese person, you may have to wait 15 years to get the visa. Wow. Now, that's only Chinese people right now. But U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is quickening it. But as to receiving the visa as a Chinese person, even if USCIS moves fast, the State Department is still limited. They are constrained by the number of visas. So as a Chinese person, there's a wait to get the visa. Does that make sense?
I mean, I think people just want to be made sure that immigrants aren't being lumped into one category with the current situation along the world.
Right,
but
right.
a business investor is a serious person. He's not your typical visitor.
Very true.
He's not your spouse.
Very
yeah,
true.
he's not your dependent.
Right.
So surely he should be given priority. I mean, other countries have a priority service and they have a quick 15 years for a business.
But it's only for Chinese people in the 15 years. But no, that's really true. So what do? So in the US, the EB5 category means it's current.
Yeah.
If I'm an Indian investor, it may take me an extremely long period of time to get another visa category to the US. So it may seem lengthy, but yet in reality for the US, it isn't long at all compared to many other ways to come in. So, and it is as in comparison then, it is relatively expedited compared to the other ones, and you're right. An EB5 investor is extremely good for the US. He or she is investing, he or she is creating new US jobs, all of this at no cost to the US government. And the government recognizes this. So EB5 investors are generally considered differently than many other classes of immigration. And the US government talks about making fewer immigrants in many classes or removing certain classes. They're not doing that to EB5. So it's better, if you can invest as an EB5 investor, it's better than many other categories to get into the US.
Would it be prudent to plan ahead in that case? Is that what you're saying? So at least give it to, if you're from India and you're thinking of in, say, 4 or 5 years' time to do this, then just get it done now.
That's what I would have to say. Because if you invest today, there's another thing about investing today versus tomorrow, right? If you invest today, everything happens more quickly. You get it done sooner. But the other thing is that the US government can either change the program through legislation, the US Congress, or they can change it through regulation.
Right.
Congress has been trying for years to change the program and would increase the investment amount. The US Citizenship and Immigration Services, a division of Homeland Security, can also change the program by regulation. There are pending regulations which, when published, would increase the investment amount to over $1.3 to $1.8 million.
Wow.
The reason to invest today is to get in there early, to make it so you'll get your visa earlier, but in addition to that is it prevents the possibility of you having to pay 3 times as much. So today $500,000, once the regulations go in, could be as high as $1.8 million or $1.3 million.
Yeah, you could save $1 million.
You could save $1.5 million to $800,000 savings versus the published amount that was in there. So it's really important that if people want to do this, that they just find a project they like and move forward. And waiting is not a good idea. Okay?
Bill, thank you very much. I think you've answered a lot of questions. And I think you've waylaid a lot of fears and a lot of anxieties, I think, which people have.
I hope so. Well, thank you very, very much for having me. This has been a real honor for me to be on your program, so thank you very much.
It's been great, and I think,
pleasure.
Yeah, you've explained it well as a layman. As a layman would want to hear it. And I think your experience with Indians shows, because you say the right things that the Indians want to hear.
Indians are among the smartest individuals who invest in the EB. I have experience from over 90 countries. Indians are savvy business people, and they're extremely hardworking and diligent. We find that in every respect. So we try and be as conscientious as we can. We answer all of the questions. We provide them all the information that we have. And as a result, we've had extremely good success with Indian investors. So,
good luck, Bill.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're continuing our talk about the EB5, the notorious EB5 now, which we've been discussing all day. And we've been talking about people and their different projects. We have Andy Dover here, who's going to be talking about his project. But I believe, Andy, your project, and everyone says it, but the proof is in the pudding, yours are very different. And you have something that sets you apart from every other project. So introduce yourself and let's get talking about your project.
Okay, Andy Dover. Our project is in Asheville, North Carolina.
Right.
And the distinction that you're referring to is the project was determined to be in the U.S. national interest. Mm-hmm. And with that determination, there is the term is called expedited status. So when an investor invests in our project, they're moved to the front of the queue for the adjudication process of their individual petition. So what that means in terms of an investor, if you would think of it waiting in line in the airport, USCIS times for individual investors is 2.5 years.
Yes.
Currently, our average processing time is 60 days.
Wow.
So as you can see from a family's perspective, if you're paying the money and you're making a commitment to a project, you would like to have access, in this case, to the U.S. as quickly as possible, and so that's the key differentiator. To my knowledge, currently it's the only EB5 project that has this distinction in the market.
So why do you think your project's been given expedited in comparison to many other regional centres? It must be something special that you've done to get the expedited approval.
So USCIS requires you to essentially make an argument why this should have special standing.
Yes.
When the EB5 program was originally created, its intent was to impact rural areas or areas of high unemployment. It was trying to bring
TEAs.
it was trying to bring capital investment into those areas to improve the U.S. economy by creating jobs. And our project is in a rural area. It's in a true TEA, so it's in line with the spirit and intent of the program. It's third-party economists have projected that we're going to create nearly 7,000 jobs, so it's meaningful to the U.S. economy. And it's a distinctive industry. It's the equestrian industry. It's the world's largest equestrian center. And when you build a project like this, the riders come from all over the world. So not only have you attracted investment capital, now you're attracting participants in events, spectators in events. All that money's coming to the U.S. as opposed to going to another country.
Can you just tell our viewers this event that you're referring to and the time frame? When is this event will take place?
So our facility is a year-round facility. There's 40 weeks of current licensed events happening on the facility. Every 4 years in equestrian, there's an event called the World Equestrian Games, and so in like most sporting enterprises, right now we have the World Cup going on. It happens every 4 years, and other than the World Cup, the most prestigious thing is the Olympics every 4 years. Equestrian is the same thing. Our World Cup is the World Equestrian Games. They choose a venue. It was previously held in Normandy, France. Now it's going to be at Tryon, North Carolina, and it's substantial in the fact that there will be roughly 500,000 people on our property over 2 weeks. There will be journalists from 2,000 countries. There will be riders from 70 countries. It will be nationally broadcast. So that individual event is meaningful, and the guests that it will attract from around the world will be everybody from heads of state to corporate titans to families just wanting to go have a nice time.
So in that sense, I've noticed that you guys been able to get a lot of big brands that are associated or be part of this project in itself. Perhaps you'd like to outline to our viewers what kind of brands that have been associated.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's been exciting. Traditionally, equestrian was a participant sport. The riders would go ride, but they weren't doing it in front of crowds. And the innovation of the developer of this project was this is a beautiful spectator sport. And throughout human history, people have had relationships in every culture with horses. And so the World Equestrian Game is the celebration of the horse. And with that comes the celebration of the family. And as you would guess, corporate sponsors around the world want to be affiliated with wholesome things that are generational, that the grandparents will attend, the parents will attend, the children oftentimes, or maybe a sibling.
So who are these sponsors?
So everyone from Rolex to BMW, Land Rover, Emirates Airlines, Coca-Cola, very large international companies, because this is really a global event, and this facility operates year-round. And so these riders come from all over the world, and certainly the North American market is attractive to sponsors. When you have an event, you're going to have 2,000 accredited journalists there for 2 weeks, roughly writing 10,000 articles. It's going to be nationally televised. it's positive in every way you could think about it. The corporations obviously want to be identified with that type of venue.
It's World Cup, and we can see a lot of coverage.
Well, you know, if
Yeah.
you think of this year's sporting events, it's the fourth largest sporting event in the world this year. World Cup, the Tour de France, the Olympics, and the World Equestrian Games. So that gives people the sense of scale of the project. And it's a huge honor because this is a year-round facility. And when you're competing and you're bidding for other events, it's very attractive to say to riders, you should come and ride in the venue that the best people in the world ride.
Yeah. I've seen some of your press releases. We've been getting people from the Middle East, from Europe, from UK. There's a long relationship, so I can see this is getting a lot of worldwide coverage. We have another question, Andy. We know that there is up to 15 years backlog from China, and India is soon to hit retrogression. And sometimes I say you guys are a victim of your own success.
That's true.
And are you guys actually a victim of your own success because you are tapping into expanding the outreach on EB5 into new markets? Retrogression comes in. There's a backlog. What can your project do what can your project do to help these?
So certainly China's been a victim of its own success, and the wait time is 15 years, and it's difficult to understand why a Chinese investor would move forward. We're still having investors from China. Generally, they have very young children, and they're planning for their college education. That's why they're taking the decision. But the typical person, would you or I buy a product or a service we're going to pay today and get 15 years from now? It would be a very special situation. So if we look at India and Brazil, Korea, Vietnam, there's a cap on the number of visas per country. And the demand in each of those countries, because the popularity of the program has gone up dramatically. So USCIS said at a public conference in Washington that they expect as early as June of next year for that backlog or that waiting queue to happen for India. So people that are considering this as an investment, if they want the clarity of knowing that they've secured the visa, you're really looking for an expedite, right? Because you don't want to be in a traditionally sponsored project with the idea that it takes 2 years to get it processed, if you can have the possibility of hopefully having that done within 60 days. So, you want to be at the front of the queue when the line is moving.
You've actually mentioned a very important word, cap. We know at the moment there's 10,000 visas that are allocated. Now, there's a lot of negotiations currently taking place. What happens if the government decides to increase to 20,000? How would that affect your regional centre? Because we know at the moment it's 500,000, the minimum level of investment.
I think it would be great if the government increased the number of visas to 20,000. I would put the likelihood that they're going to increase the number of visas in the current political climate somewhere around 0%. What I can say with absolute certainty is at some point the price is going to go to 500,000 to 925,000 and
to 1.2
to 1.2 million. So we've seen proposals. So there is going to be rule changes, and with rule changes is going to come an increase in price. So if you're an Indian investor, for instance, you have the threat of a price increase, so you'd want to take your decision now.
That's true.
Okay. You have this idea that there could be a long line forming like there is in China. So you would want to take your decision now to be in front. Okay. And then the last thing that I would say is, to my knowledge, our project is the only expedited project that the U.S. government has given this special provision where you get moved to the front of the queue. Well, the entire world market is looking at EB5s as an attractive way to come to the U.S. So you have a lot of competitors trying to get a very fixed number of spots. So I say to people that are trying to take a decision, you have the risk of a longer wait time. If there's retrogression, you have the risk of almost a doubling in price. The last risk, I would say, is everybody wants to be through the process as fast as possible. And to my knowledge, we're the only ones that can do that.
Yeah.
And so therefore, there's a very high demand for our spots. And if you want to assure yourself one, you need to take your decision and move quickly.
Excellent, excellent. We know there's a lot of exciting projects out there. You know, we do know a lot of people buy into sexy projects like the real estate projects, and it looks wonderful on the brochures, but they don't do a lot of due diligence.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give to these investors, especially we know the Indian investors? They're very smart. They ask a lot of questions. They really look into your PPM.
Right.
They really, do referrals, really take their time.
For us, they're the ideal investor
Okay.
because they're an informed investor. They go through the materials, they ask hard questions, and there are things that projects can set themselves aside. There are third-party audit firms that do reviews of projects, right? And so we do that. You can invest in a project where the jobs, which is critical to your individual visa, have substantially been created and can be documented. So each one of those things is removing an element of risk. We always say, like, who's in business with you? Like, who's your partner? You know, and we're going to be working together with our investors for a long period of time. So we like to have them informed when they start. We like to communicate with them. From our standpoint, we use top lawyers in the industry. We do third-party audit reports. As we mentioned earlier, we have some of the world's biggest brands that do their own due diligence before they invest their corporate dollars, because they don't have an infinite amount of money. They're making choices. And so when you see the types of companies we're involved in, you see the quality of management, the history of the operator, all of those things play into the decision-making process. And when you look at EB5, there may be 800 projects, but when you really start going through, do they have an independent board? You know, what's their track record? And you start running that 800 through a funnel, the pool gets much smaller. And then if you take it, who has this expedited provision, it comes down to a decision of one at that point. And that's why we've seen so much demand for the project.
Excellent. Well, and since last year, we've been constantly hearing the program, well, the minimum investment levels most likely to go up. It's constantly been extended, and the next time, I believe, it's September, where we'll get an idea if it remains the same or if it goes up. What advice would you give to an investor? Do they wait for another couple of months, or wait till September? Or is it panic button now and go for it now? What advice would you give an investor thinking that we have till September?
I had a mentor that told me once that deals never get better with more time. And so if this is something that you're considering for your family, we don't know when the prices are going up. But I've never heard a conversation about any reform with EB5 that didn't mention a meaningful price increase. So at some point we know that's going to happen. So with risk, you can manage it or avoid it. So you can assure yourself the lower price point by taking your decision. You can assure yourself the best possible processing time by being an expedited project. So, you know, it's better to avoid a risk. If you have to take one, you manage it to the best of your ability. But you certainly don't have to accept it. And so by moving quickly, you've assured yourself of the best possible price.
Well, it's wonderful hearing about your expedited project. I think a lot of the viewers are going to question, what is the time frame for this expedited? Are you allowed to tell us how many days? What's been the fastest application? What's been the longest application?
Okay, so USCIS, obviously we're not in control of their processing times. But we have been encouraged, one, when we received the expedite. That was a big milestone for us as a rural project, and we felt like it warranted it, and we certainly made the case. To date, the longest file that we've had took 63 days.
Wow, and 63 days.
63
And where were they from?
And that was an investment banker from Switzerland.
Wow.
And the shortest file to date was 39 days.
And that was from?
And they were from Vietnam. And the most files we have far and away are from India.
Yeah.
And the average processing time is 45 days to date.
Wow.
And so like most things in investment, you know, the past is no guarantee for the future, but we have seen a pattern. We are encouraged by it, and we do have the expedite, so we know that the investors are going to be at the front of the queue. The one thing we don't know is if USCIS doesn't move as quickly, our investors are going to be in the best position, but we don't know what the times are.
It sounds like you've got a golden ticket at the moment, but it might be limited for a time.
Yeah, and so that's exactly the way we refer to it, as the golden ticket. And like all things like this, you know, if you've seen Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory, there's a scramble for it, right? And so we have, you know, primarily investors in the United States currently on H-1B visas are concerned about the change in U.S. government policy, who are very actively exploring projects. We have people overseas that want to send children to school. People have timing constraints, so we've seen an amazing demand there. And then again, there's other countries that are facing retrogression, Brazil and Korea.
That's correct.
So you have a global population looking for a scarce resource. And so what we tell everyone is take your decision as quickly as you can, because the only way to avoid the risk you won't have a spot or a golden ticket is to act and secure one for yourself.
Does the US not recognize, look, that business investors are different to a different class of immigrant, and this is what we need, and we need to bring these in quickly, or we need to greaten the numbers?
Yeah,
you know, rather than say, right, it's still going to take 15 years and we're going to ask for investment of over $1 million. Wouldn't it be prudent then to just say, well, actually, let's just increase the numbers and get these knocked out quicker? And then we'd get more people in, more investment into different businesses. Wouldn't that make sense? And is that something you're lobbying for?
We're actively lobbying on a lot of levels, because we think the program is good for investors. We think that the typical EB-5 investor is somebody that we would want to have in the U.S. Often the reform has not as been easy as anybody would hope. The people that are most largely affected by it now are the Chinese investors, because they have this incredible queue of almost 15 years. Could you imagine buying a plane ticket and saying, you know, turn up in 15 years? I mean,
there's a lot of viewers here that will be excited by hearing your expedited project. However, we have to, there is a risk element when it comes to EB5 and investing in regional centres. And we always advise investors to do the due diligence. What makes your regional centre stand out? What confidence can you give to investors?
Yeah, I think the first thing is track record. You know, this is the third project that we are funding. In our previous projects, all the investors were approved. The projects were built on time. We work only with world-class operators. So in the case of the Equestrian, the developer is one of the world leaders in the industry. We have an independent board of directors, and when people Google our board of directors, they're people of national and international standing. We are a market leader in the place that we're operating, and we work with the top firms for compliance and legal work. And so I think it's always people first. Who's affiliated? What types of practices do you have in place to make sure the investors are taken care of? You know, jobs have to be created. Before I came here, I was on the property doing a audit and compliance visit. And we do those 4 times a year to make sure everything is on track. That's a means of protecting the investor. There were 700 workers constructing new buildings on the property. This is a job creation program.
Yes, exactly. It is a program, yes.
And the other thing is this property is built and operating. The EB-5 raise is an expansion of a already successful business. This isn't a new idea. It's not novel. It's not done by somebody that's not experienced. And then the other thing, I think that getting through the expedited process, there's a layer of due diligence that's just done on that before the government is going to say, okay, we agree that this is special and the investor should be treated in a different way.
So how does an investor get in touch with your regional project? It's probably important for the viewers here to understand. Yes, we understand there's a retrogression, there's a backlog, and you have to expertise. How does one investor get in touch with your program?
Yeah, so we receive investors through a number of sources. There's a well-developed network of lawyers who specialize in immigration, so we have referrals.
Okay.
There in a country like China, there's a very developed brokerage and agent network of people. Surprising, Google.
Yes.
When people are searching for EB5, they're going to see something pop up that says EB5fast.com, and it's just as it describes. Gives information on the project and the specifics of the project, on a lot of the items that we've talked about here. But Google searches are largely a starting point because people can see what's the public information about the developer, what's the track record, what's the track record of the attorneys, are there any imagery, and we have events. This is a year-round facility. We had an event 2 weeks ago where the governor of the state was there. It's called the Governor's Cup, sponsored by Coca-Cola. 6,000 people on property. Everybody's tweeting and Facebooking, their experience. Everybody from the riders to the vendors to the children that are there. So with that amount of activity, there's a lot of pictures online, and specifically at the website.
If someone wants to find you, they will.
We're very easy to find, and we're hoping everybody's going to join us in September for the World Games. They'll be there with 600,000 of their closest friends.
But your project's going to continue after the games as well, right?
Yeah, because this facility was always designed to be a year-round operation. It's when you win something like the World Games, it's really just an honor to showcase your physical property. But this is always going to be there. This was not constructed for this event. We happen to have a unique facility where all the events could be held in one location, which, to my knowledge, is the first time that's ever happened in the World Equestrian Games. Other host countries have have venues in different locations. Our facility, we're going to have everything in one site.
And do you hope to retain your expedited status after the games?
Certainly, because the expedite was predicated on a rationale. We filed for the expedite before we even knew we won the World Games.
Right, okay, so it wasn't based on the games?
No, it definitely was not based on the games. It was based on the potential economic impact in a rural part of the United States in line with USCIS's goals for the program.
Excellent.
Oh, brilliant. I think you've answered a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
And you definitely have a standout product.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
In relation to a lot of what our viewers are looking for is, scaremongering of the times, the 2 years, the 3 years, and you're right, why should people wait? And if there's a 63-day turnaround or a 45-day turnaround, you definitely stand out from the crowd.
And I think that they will feel in good stead being associated with the people that run the development. They have a long-standing track record. I think that they should feel good with the corporations that are supporting it. Certainly, we've had amazing political support, and this investment is what EB5 was intended to do. It was intended to help a family migrate to the U.S., have an opportunity for their kids to go to school, put investment capital in rural areas, and create jobs. So if the government was going to create a poster child or somebody to highlight in the program, this is the right project for it.
I think it's also important, Andy, it's not a short-term project, it's a long-term project. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of bad apples in the industry, and your project and your program is not here just for the World Cup, it's still remaining, and there's a lot of hope that, obviously you are going to carry on, and you're actually in the EB5 industry for long term, not for a short term, just to get
absolutely. Our previous project was a U.S. government-backed veterans hospital, and so our business, like most things in life, life's too short not to work with really good people, and we look at that from our partners who were doing the hospital to the people that are doing the equestrian center to who we accept as an investor and who we want to affiliate ourselves with. This facility is going to be there for generations. You know, generations of people are going to have their first experiences riding horses. So when you come to the property, you're going to see Olympic level, the best riders in the world from all over the world. And you're going to see children on their ponies jumping over jumps that are like this high. And all done in a family safe environment. So this is where this project is located in North Carolina. This has been a tourist visitor destination for the past 100 years in the United States. It has beautiful weather. There's airports that make it very easy to get in and out of, and you know, it's one of the most beautiful places in the United States.
And you don't have to sell horses to Indians. We even spend our wedding day on one. So you know, it sounds as if, like you said, it's a great scheme.
Yeah.
And you know, if as long as the expedited status is there, I think it'll be very attractive.
Yeah, I mean, the expedited status is there for each individual investor. The question is, are we going to have spots there? So people need to take their decision and move quickly because there's other people coming for them, and they're coming from multiple countries.
Yeah, excellent. And obviously, we know you're very strong in countries like in China and India and also Vietnam. It's also good to outline to the viewers that you also outreach to a number of new nations, not just Brazil.
Yeah, we have had investors from 22 different countries, I think, at this point.
Excellent.
And everywhere from Iran to Armenia to Colombia to Venezuela. So
that's really good news, Andy, because obviously I speak to a lot of investors, and they're really fearful with Trump being in power, and he might have some objections with Iranian. But again, you're doing the due diligence. You want the top elite investors, the right type of investors.
And so every investor goes through the same screening process, right? And so there's protocols in place to screen the individual investors. So I think that, you know, as a policy, these are, you know, ideal people that you would want as immigrants. And the system is designed, if they're not, they don't get approved.
Yes. So they're going through the same process.
And everybody has the same driver. I've never seen a parent or a person from any country on this planet that doesn't want the best for their children. And usually that's driven by opportunities for education, religious freedom, and those things. So you know, we're encouraged by the number of nations where we've had investors, and we're welcoming everybody. The only thing, we wish we had more spots. I mean, that's the key.
So finally, you're obviously here at the Global Investment Immigration Summit. To summarize, how would you compare the EB5 program in comparison to a number of the other programs that have actually been highlighted here? Because there are programs that are in different countries, but the investment level are actually higher than the EB5. So how would you summarize EP5 in comparison to the other programs that you've hopefully been able to listen to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you guys have done a brilliant job with the conference, and I've enjoyed learning more and talking to all the people. I specifically enjoyed the Prime Minister's comments this morning and learning more about the program. I think the prime difference that I would say is the U.S. is the destination of choice. So a lot of times when people are looking at alternative programs, they're doing that as backup plan, often, not always, to coming to the U.S. And there's a limit on the number of these visas per year, and it sells out every year. And there's a limit on the expedited visas. So I think if the U.S. is the choice, and generally it is, oftentimes I would say the vast majority of times our investment partners are looking for education opportunities for their children.
That's true.
And
they want the best education.
And they want the best education.
Exactly,
the university system is in the U.S. So I think all the programs are fantastic. And I think that they have an amazing demand for a reason. But we have the advantage of the main reason somebody does it is the university system.
Because when we deep down ask investors, and the families, they pretty much do it for their kids and the future of their kids.
And you know, and what wouldn't you do for your kids,
exactly,
right? And so that's what kind of drives it. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, would you write a letter of reference for my children to go to school? They look at my bio and see where I went to school and say, could you help them get into Yale?
Exactly.
And so I can't, but I certainly would put in a good word for them.
But it's just want to recap on for the family, because once they do make an application and it's approved, can you just give the viewers an indication of how many members of their families are allowed and the age brackets, just so they understand?
And so the $500,000 investment covers the family and children until they age out. So our typical investor is a married couple with 2 children. And their objective is, in China, they would take the investment. The parents may never have an intent to migrate long term, but it's primarily done for education reasons. And so our typical investors, specifically in the Indian market, are either H-1B investors that want to stay there. They have children post-graduation want to stay there. Or they're looking to move to create opportunity for their family.
Because it's actually for the families. So when we did a comparison for a family of 4, for instance, it's relatively very reasonable in comparison to a number of projects.
It's incredibly reasonable. And then the other thing is, remember, the money is coming back to you. So that's why you want to do the due diligence to have a good project with a long track record. Because you want to have the visas and the opportunity for your children, but you've made an investment, and the investment comes back. So when you look at it on that level, it's hard to find or think of a better opportunity, specifically if the U.S. is your target.
Exactly. It's not like a donation. You've made the donation, it's gone. You actually, but then as long as you invest in the right project, you get your return on investment.
We use the term impact investing because the U.S. gets the impact of the capital coming into areas in these rural areas. The families get the impact of the opportunity creation of education, etc., and then they get their money back. And so, it's a too-worn phrase of win-win, but this is really a win for the investor. It's a win for the project. And it's a win for the United States, and it's why they created the program in the first place.
And congratulations to you, Andy, and your team and everyone to really outline, obviously, your expedited project and how they can get in touch with you and your team. And it's really interesting because I don't think a lot of people are aware of your program and the expedited, and it's important. We've had the opportunity to actually present that to our viewers, and hopefully you have an increase. And
we're grateful to be here. I think the conference has been fantastic. We've enjoyed meeting everybody in the regional centers, and the thing that we would encourage your viewers is there's a finite number of spaces, and the faster that you move, the better it is for you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.